Hello, friends, and welcome to our industry update. Today, we're going to focus on why your launch must stand out in today's book market. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this because in Book Marketing Pro Academy, we are actually talking all about book launch. And so we want to make sure that you understand why a book launch is crucial to leveraging the message of your book and getting as many buyers as possible. So today we're going to have a real conversation about the publishing market. So it will be industry related. So how many books are out there? We're going to talk about where they're sold and most importantly, what you can do to stand out. Because here's the truth, just writing a book isn't enough anymore. We are totally living in an oversaturated publishing world. And if we want our books to reach our readers, we need to do more than just hit the button publish. We need to launch with intention, strategy, and product that truly is excellent. And that is why we are learning and discovering together how best we can launch each of our books with the individual messages that we have. So let's first talk about numbers. Every single year, millions of new books are released into the world. So let that just sink in for a minute. All across publishing formats, traditional, indie, self-publish, ebook, print books, more than 4 million new titles are published globally every single year. That's over 11,000 new books every single day. Now, here in the United States alone, we see around 500,000 to 1 million traditionally published books a year and over 2 million self-published books. Many which are uploaded way too quickly with minimal editing, amateur covers, and little to no launch plan. And people wonder why their books aren't selling. So here's what this means for you. If you are getting ready to publish a book, or if you are uploading your own book and hoping someone finds it, you're basically releasing your message into a tidal wave. That's why launching your book really does matter. You want to take the time to do it well so that you can rise above the noise. Now, I'm not talking about gimmicks or marketing that's really kind of kitschy. It really does mean to craft your message clear and compelling, to present your book with a cover, editing, interior, the whole experience that is professional, and guiding your reader into your message with purpose. Because readers can tell the difference. They know the difference between a DIY upload and a well-published book that's been stewarded with care. So let's talk a little bit about where the books are being sold. Because if we recognize where they're being sold in the industry today and in the market today, we will be able to then know how to leverage our book sales. So let's talk retail, because it's not about how many books are out there necessarily. It's about where the readers are finding them. So I'm sure you all can guess what the number one place is that people find books. You can drop it in the comments. I'm sure every person will get it right. And that is Amazon. You can't deny it. Amazon is like this giant. It's estimated that between 50 and 70% of all book sales in the United States go through Amazon. Now, for self-published authors, that number is often much higher because often they only go through Amazon, so it's closer to 90% of sales. And Amazon also controls the main lion's share of ebooks and audio sales too. So if your book isn't optimized for Amazon, it's missing a massive piece of the pie, because that is where people buy books. We may like it, we may love it, we may leave it, but it's just where it is. So Amazon is number one. The second place that people buy books are brick and mortar stores. And this matters especially for Christian books. Also for local interest titles. Children's books are a huge sell in brick and mortar stores, and books where the author could actually show up in person. So typically these look like independent bookstores, chain bookstores, and the Christian retailers. They all hold a big piece of this print book market. While overall, the market share is smaller than Amazon, but the visibility and the credibility from being on a shelf or hosting a signing is powerful. So connect with your brick and mortar store, because that's number 2. The number 3 place that books are being sold are online retailers beyond Amazon. So think places like barnesandnoble.com, Apple Books, bookshop.org, Kobo. These offer additional reach for readers who prefer to use non-Amazon platforms. Bookshop.org is growing quickly and supports indie bookstores with every single sale. So there still is a market out there for the other .coms, but it is relatively small. But some people still do use it. Then we have number 4, mass retail, big box stores, and grocery stores. So this isn't for everyone, but it is for the right book. So this is the 4th place where books are sold. You'll notice, because when you walk into like a Costco or a Sam's Club, they have a book section. It's not huge, but it's, they do sell quite a few books there. So usually it's gift books, seasonal books, family-oriented books, lots of children's books, but usually children's books that have like specific like little gadgets, or maybe the most popular novels are there. So accessing these markets usually requires a distributor or a wholesaler relationship. So the only way you can really get in as an author typically is if you can get connected to one of these types of relationships, like a Choice Books. They typically want higher production quality and broad appeal. They also want a very low price point. And so typically you can't use a POD, print on demand, for something like this, because you're going to have to give them a very low print price in order to get it into the store. So you would need to do a offset print run and get the lowest price possible so that you can get it into these types of stores. Then number 5 are libraries, schools, and institutions. Now, these aren't retail in a traditional sense, but they are important for exposure, especially for nonfiction, for children's books, perhaps devotionals or faith-based resources. So libraries can often order through a wholesaler. Schools and ministries can open doors for bulk purchases, which would give you a bigger impact. And so those are some things that you could look into. So what do you do with all of this? You can't really control the flood of new titles that are coming in every single year, but you can control how your book shows up in the marketplace. So here's what I want you to take away. Your book deserves a launch that reflects its value, your story, your message, your calling. It matters too much to get lost in a sea of uploads. And that's why at Redemption Press and Book Marketing Pro, we really want to teach you how to strategically do this and show up professionally, how to sell beyond Amazon, how to sell direct to consumer with a message that connects. So whether you may be working on your first draft, prepping your book for print, or wondering what to do, just make sure you're asking yourself some very strategic questions for the marketplace today. Is my book launch ready to cut through all of that noise? Am I showing up in spaces where my reader actually does buy books? And have I built a message that's going to last beyond just the launch week? So I want to give you a few fun facts. Are you ready? Here's fun fact number 1. Most books sell fewer than 250 copies. So if you are an author who has already released a book and you have sold more than 250 copies, you are above average. That's in its lifetime. So it's not because the content wasn't good. It's because there was no plan to help the reader find it. Think about it. I just told you 4 million books are published a year. And if 4 million books are published a year, 2 million of those in the United States, you're going to have to do something to be noticed. So don't just write a book. Position it, launch it, and promote it. Your message matters too much for it just to sit there in obscurity. Fun fact number 2. Even in a digital world that we live in today, 70 to 80% of readers say they still love a good paperback. Print books dominate physical bookstores and impulse buys. So design a book that readers want to hold. High quality cover and an interior layout still matter a lot. Then number 3, yeah, there's nothing worse than buying a book and it having a horrible layout or just unusable interior. Do a good job with it, please. Okay, fun fact number 3. Bookstores stock about between 2,000 and 5,000 titles, depending on obviously the size of the store. So compare that to over 30 million books that are on Amazon. So a brick and mortar store is going to purchase only 2,000 to 5,000 titles for in their store. So if you're having a hard time getting it in a bookstore, it's because the competition's pretty fierce. So that's why hoping readers find your book is not enough. So you need a clear niche. And I really do believe that if you have a very strong niche, you'll be able to know how to market better. Strong back cover copy and intentional messaging. So the front cover of the book is just as important as the back cover because that's the first 2 things people look at: front cover, back cover, and then they'll flip to probably start reading either an introduction or chapter 1. Books that speak directly to a reader's need are the ones that are selling. Now, I want to do one more thing that's kind of fun after I get a drink so I don't die. All right. The top 5 best-selling books of all time. Actually, I'm going to do a few more than 5 because I kind of mixed secular and sacred together. So the best-selling book of all time. Do you know? The best-selling book of all time is Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. I don't know. I took French. You would think I would know how to say that. But he has sold in his lifetime since 1605, when the book released, was part 1, 1615 was part 2, 500 plus million books. They think that it endured over the span of time because it was considered the very first modern novel with themes of identity, illusion, heroism, and it continues to resonate. And maybe your high school student is reading it in school. Who knows? The second one is from the Christian market, and that is Pilgrim's Progress. And that's by John Bunyan. It has sold 250 plus million copies, and it was first published in 1678. I know I have read it and seen movies on it, and they even have a brand new little Pilgrim's Progress from Moody Publishers. So good. You should really check it out. Really second only to the Bible in historical influence. Then number 3 is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. It's estimated that over 200 million copies published in 1859. Fun fact is the opening line is one that we hear often. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. And that is one of the most famous quotes in literature. Number 4 is The Lord of the Rings by Tolkien. Over 150 million copies published in 1954 to 1955 because there are 3 volumes. It's not just a fantasy classic. It's actually shaped as a modern storytelling inspired by entire genres and built on one of the most loyal fandoms in publishing history. Another one from the Christian market, there's a few in between, but another one is The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren, 50 million copies. And then my utmost for his highest is Oswald Chambers, and that is 13 million print copies. And it was first published in 1927, still printed 100 years later. One of the most enduring devotionals ever written. I'm probably every household of believers has my utmost for his highest in some regard. I probably have 4 or 5 copies of it in different bindings. And then, even though those are the top selling book of all times, there is one more book that is the top selling book of all time, and that is the Bible. and it is estimated to over 5 to 7 billion copies, translated into 3,500 languages, and more copies printed, translated, and distributed than any other book in human history. And it continues to sell over 100 million copies annually through various publishers. So the takeaway: the most impactful Christian books have something in common. They speak directly to the heart, they offer hope and clarity, and they're often rooted in timeless truth. So don't underestimate your story, your devotional, or your teaching, because one spirit-led book can impact millions when paired with obedience, excellence, and the right message at the right time. So as I close out this industry update, in a world overflowing with content, the message that rises is the one that is clear, excellent, and well-placed. Your book doesn't need to be for everyone. It needs to be findable, readable, and unforgettable for the person it was meant to reach. And that is our industry update for September 2025.